Hello, I'm Dr. Bill Noz. I'm your guide on this voyage into the world of needless parasitic anxieties and fears. I'll start with a definition of a parasitic anxiety, then I'll give you an example, and then a map for where we're going. Parasitic anxiety is an unrealistic apprehension or dread of certain persons or situations that often leads to needless inhibitions. Here's an example. Let's suppose that you have a few minutes to talk at the next town meeting about a plan to improve trash pickup in your neighborhood. Your neighbors pick you to represent the neighborhood. As you think about getting up before a group of town officials, you feel a rush of anxiety. You imagine yourself fumbling over your words, looking like a fool, and running out of the meeting, followed by a jeering mob of unhappy neighbors. These thoughts feel like a level 5 tornado, but you hit upon a solution to alleviate your anxiety. You'll make a perfect presentation. So you repeatedly rewrite your presentation. You find that you can't think of a perfect enough way to introduce it, so you worry that you'll never get it right. As the time for the presentation draws near, you feel frantic. Even with notes in hand, you worry what would happen if you skipped a word. Would your entire presentation fall apart? You fear that you'll feel so anxious that you'll forget what to say. Because you know that your anxious feelings can befuddle your thoughts, you feel panicky about feeling panicked. So what can you do? Can you pop a pill and vanquish the parasites? I doubt it. Instead, to help yourself overcome the parasites, you can 1. Educate yourself to recognize and diffuse parasitic thinking. For example, when you recognize your anxious thoughts, you can do many things to diffuse them. 2. Learn to develop your emotional resources and build emotional tolerance. This process involves learning how to accept unpleasant feelings. With acceptance, the feelings become tolerable, manageable, and more likely to dissipate. 3. You can behaviorally engage what you parasitically fear, and you can weaken and displace the fears with functional new behaviors. For example, by practicing speaking before groups, you can gain skills and confidence in your public speaking abilities. Following these 3 basic prescriptions, you can dramatically tip the odds in favor of reducing or eliminating these guts-wrenching fears and stopping them from coming back. However, this is a process. It's not a one-time event. It takes time and sweat to wipe out parasites. Let's look at 4 questions about using cognitive behavioral therapy methods for changing negative thinking, feelings, and behavior so that you can override your parasitic anxieties and fears. 1. How flexible is CBT? Cognitive behavioral therapy and methods apply to a broad range of human emotional afflictions. For example, most who suffer from parasitic anxieties and fears simultaneously find themselves challenged by perfectionism, self-doubts, and other unpleasant states such as depression, rumination, and inhibition. Fortunately, you have many good CBT ways to combat the many causes and phases of depression. These interventions that apply to one condition often apply to many others. When you use the same system for different or related conditions, we call this a transdiagnostic approach. In a sense, a transdiagnostic approach is like an aspirin that is useful for headaches, arthritis, reducing fever, and preventing a coronary event. 2. How might you begin? This journey often starts with separating real from parasitic anxieties and learning why the parasites linger, why they return, how to shorten their visit, and how to stop them from coming back. There are common threads that weave through the paths of the parasites. Spotting these threads both simplifies the journey and gives you a more direct route towards relief from anxiety. Because people and their circumstances are so very different, parts of this journey are different for everyone. The threads that are unique often need to be unraveled. If you have the tools, you can also simplify this part of the journey. 3. Can CBT work for you? Over the past 40 years, cognitive behavioral therapy has proven to be a consistently effective method. A meta-analysis, and that's a study of studies, by Dr. Andrew Butler of 16 meta-analyses shows the extent to which CBT is effective. It's effective. An impressive number of studies went into this meta-analysis. No other system has this level of research support. 4. What added benefits can you get from using and practicing cognitive behavioral therapy methods to deal with your anxieties? You can build confident composure by using these methods. With confident composure, you recognize that you can directly command only yourself, and you choose to do so. You don't demand that the world change for you, and you don't need it to. You drive your actions with productive intentions. With a softer but stronger view, you can better influence the controllable events that take place around you. Your psychological resources are more available to diffuse, finesse, or directly manage your fears, anxieties, and conflicts. You can use CBT methods to reduce many needless negatives and use the same method to advance your enlightened self-interest. Thus, you reduce negatives while proactively stretching for positive results. Both the Cognitive Behavioral Workbook for Anxiety and this presentation include tips from 25 top experts. For example, distinguished University of Scranton professor of psychology, John Norcross, suggests a buddy system for working against anxiety. He gives a checklist. This checklist includes how to select a friend and how to work with your friend. For example, select someone who is accepting, avoid critics. Make this relationship reciprocal by helping your friend meet his or her personal challenges. If you actively work to overcome your parasitic anxieties and fears, you will surely do better than if you sat by the wayside waiting for a miracle. One way in which you can help yourself is give yourself psychological homework assignments and then follow through on the assignments. You are likely to get further faster than if you took an unstructured approach to change or procrastinated, hoping that somehow, some way, things will improve in the future. If you take this homework assignment approach, here's what you can do. 1. Start with this introduction. List the key ideas that you got from this presentation. 2. Create a plan for how to put the ideas to work for you. 3. Test the plan and record what happened. 4. Then record how you can use the experience to advance your enlightened interest, which is where you act to benefit yourself and simultaneously benefit others, where this is reasonable and feasible to do. In this recording phase of part 4, make modifications, drop some things that don't work, add some things that you think might. Run the test again. Let's turn next to part 1. Here I'll separate parasitic anxieties and fears and show you some cognitive, emotive, and behavioral ways to start your program for eliminating the parasites.